Hello, welcome one and welcome all to this very special and long overdue edition of the Get Down podcast slash remembrance of times past with Doug and myself, Leon.
How you doing?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
Fantastic. Now, why are we here, Douglas?
Well, really, I just wanted to talk about the Get Down, where it came from, and why we did it. You know, just kind of the history of it.
Now, for people that might not know, what was the Get Down, Douglas, before it was something else on Netflix? Right.
So before Netflix, we had the Get Down. It started in like November 2010, and it was just a show where we reviewed games, and we did them live at that time. And we'll go into that a little more. Right now, we're just we're going to talk about where it came about.
Well, how it came about, right? Like a let's play series, I guess you should say.
Yeah. I mean, I had been doing a couple YouTube things, and I was like, why don't we review games too?
Yes,
like, everybody reviews games.
And this was back now, let's say, what, nine years ago, I believe, or almost 9 years ago.
It was 8 or 9 years ago.
No, back in 2010, and like you said, you had wanted to do stuff with streaming and Justin.tv for a while. So I think this came from those ideas of yours.
And this was before Twitch. This was Justin.tv, before they switched over to Twitch. And really, I just wanted to try it. I was on my laptop, and I thought it would be fun for us to do, really. Started out more of like a production of a show. There's a little bit of acting involved. Then we just kind of started going about the games, I think. So I know that you, for instance, when it comes to the Get Down, you have a story to tell about your cable.
Well, one of the things that I recall most about the first time we did it, it was a Saturday night, I'm pretty sure, back in November of 2010, and I was waiting for an unknown, not to be named cable company to come and install my
Comcast.
No, it wasn't.
Was it Verizon?
It was a name that rhymes with Horizon.
The name that rhymes with Horizon.
Yes, and okay. Horizon, yes. And I was waiting for them to install my cable, and it was a no-go. So I was left at home with no internet, no cable, and pretty much no entertainment for the night.
Right.
And then you give me a call and tell me, like, hey, Leon, I think we're... And he had been mentioning, Doug, you'd been mentioning to me about wanting to do a streaming show. And you said, "Oh yeah, I think this is a good night to try it." So I was like, "Screw it! I have nothing. I definitely have nothing better to do at home.
Right.
Let's go over and let's do it." And it was certainly a lot different than what it is now. I mean, now you have a PC that's made for streaming
for that stuff. Yeah.
When we did the earliest episodes of the Get Down, all you had was your Mac PC, was it not?
No, it was just a.
Oh no, your Mac, you
you
just had a laptop.
Right. When I got my Mac PC, it was still looking righteous.
So you did it on a laptop, and it was, even though it was cutting edge for us at the time, obviously we look back at it now, and it was pretty primitive. If you could give us the rundown of what the specs were.
Well, for me, I started it really because I had a lot of time on my hands in between jobs. I was going in between jobs, and I wanted to try Justin.tv, like a live stream, and people were kind of streaming there, but people were also streaming regular stuff, like watching TV together and cooking and random kind of stuff before they moved over to Twitch. And I had my laptop at that point where I kind of had to figure out how to stream, and it was painstaking, and I had to have all these things like FMLE 2.0, all these things to manage, like, the upload rate and stuff like that, and all these third-party doodads to manage the microphones. One of them, I can't remember, I think it's called Line In on Mac, where you kind of manage the inputs and outputs. And I had like a little capture card. It's called EasyCap. I actually still use that for old stuff, and it was a little bit of a nightmare. But once you got everything set up and you can just open the programs and click your presets, it wasn't that bad anymore.
Right.
But I'm sure you remember a couple times we'd go to start and it would take another hour just for me to figure something out.
Right. And I recall that we had a 2-camera setup at the time. It was, your camera was the camera that was on your laptop, while I was recorded on a nice old-fashioned, video. No, it wasn't even a webcam. It was it was the old video recorder that you had.
Were we using that?
Yeah, you had the camcorder.
I had the camcorder?
Yes, I was being recorded on a camcorder. You had your laptop camera. We were playing the games on TV that you had at the time. It was a nice old-fashioned CRT
right.
tube TV, which is the only way you can do it. And it just sounded like a fun time. And the first night we actually did 2 episodes.
Yeah, we did.
The first episode was Contra,
right,
and then we did
reviewing
reviewers. And I think it's really meta that we're doing a show now talking about us watching other reviewers.
Watching other reviewers, yeah.
It's really weird. This has to stop. This has to stop. Alright, guys. Welcome back to another. This is our second episode of The Get Down.
Yep.
And just in case you don't know
our
names.
The Get Down.
Just in case you don't know the names, that is Doug. This is Leon. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're not going to be reviewing a video game per se. We're actually going to be reviewing people that review video games.
Yeah, that's what's on the agenda today.
I'm trying to remember if I recall anything in particular from those episodes. I mean, besides the fact that it was obviously a fun time for both of us.
Well, let's talk about why we enjoyed it, right? I just thought it would be really fun to do. I like video games much more than Leon actually does. But
now that's not to say that I don't.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I just upgraded yesterday to a PS4.
Yeah,
I'm finally part of the current gen.
Yeah, so. He joined the club. So I would say that I enjoy video games more than Leon does in general, but I figured it would just be so fun to hang out. Leon's more into movies and TV, so that's something that he gets to kind of do, and we're like on a show together.
Correct.
It's our show. It's very small. Who cares if anybody watches it?
Of course.
You got to go in like, we're going to do it for ourselves and watch ourselves and have a good time.
Well, and I think the philosophy we've always had is that if we are enjoying ourselves, then the audience in turn will enjoy themselves.
Correct.
So if we're having a good time, I think everybody else will be as well. And that was, it's just fun it's fun to hang out and, talk about, nonsensical stuff like video games and whatever, it's just a lot of fun.
As far as those episodes go, I like I mentioned before, playing Contra together was much more of an act than it needed to be. If you go back and watch it, we definitely hammed it, right? We definitely hammed it up.
For sure. It was also our first episode.
Right, it was our first one, and it was really fun. Mind you, it's not like we were pre-recording these. We were just recording them live
which we have not really mentioned up to this point. Had not been, at that point, we were doing it live, no safety net. Not that we need one, but
the whole thing was one shot live, and then we would just upload from there to YouTube pretty much. And I think we uploaded them even much later.
Yes.
And as far as reviewing reviewers go, we started out with AVGN, right?
Yes.
And
who is pretty much, I'll still say the king
he's
of
the Messiah, right?
I mean, he's the godfather of your angry reviewers.
Right. He's the guy that everybody was like, man, this guy's doing video game stuff, and it was great, popular, great production value. And if you haven't seen his episode where he does Barbie and explains everything that goes into his episodes, please go watch it. Then after that, we did the Irate Gamer, which...
Yes. And all due respect to the, I'll give credit where credit's due. Somebody that's enterprising enough to undertake something like that to begin with. But the Irate Gamer is definitely not my favorite.
No, I don't know. Matt's not a big fan.
I always felt that he came off as a bit forced, but again, that's just a matter of preference. Yeah. But yeah, we did that. We also...
Who was the other guy we did with the twin caliber?
Yes, I forget. I think his name was Devil's Joker or
something like that.
Something like that. This English kid who reviewed... What was the game again? It was
called Twin Caliber.
Twin Caliber.
I thought he was great.
It was fun.
It was great.
It was fun. And that was the first night. That was pretty much the genesis of it. We didn't, at that point, have a set schedule as to when we were going to do it. So it was really any time that you were up to it and I was around, was really when we would do it.
We would just pick like a random game that we have, and it's funny, if we go to review a game now, we'd have to make sure we haven't done it because I'm running out of physical media. But
sadly enough,
we would just pick a random game and we would just go online and do it. And I remember one of our first static viewers, this guy named Fox.
Yes, Fox.
And he used to kill me on my Japanese pronunciation and stuff, and he was Fox is super into older games, and I haven't spoken to him in a while, and I used to still talk to him.
If you're watching Fox.
If you're watching Fox. so I used to still talk to him on like AIM and stuff, you know, and
which is no longer a thing,
which is dead. And you know, we used to just kind of parlay. I remember the last thing I spoke to him about was like he had a girl now. He stopped kind of doing games so much, and he worked a lot. So peace to you, Fox. Thanks for sticking around for as long as you did, for sure.
Yeah, we appreciate having, because again, this podcast and this show, again, even though we enjoy when people watch it, but it really is almost at this point more for Douglas and myself, that it's almost like a remembrance for us. Yeah. And again, if anybody remembers it along with us, that's fine. But
you know what's funny is I spoke to Coy yesterday.
Coy Morris,
and he asked if we were still doing the Get Down.
Coy Morris.
And I said, hey man, we're just. We may be coming back.
Would now be a good time or later to bring up Coy Morris? Because Coy Morris became, in a very strange way, a friend of the Get Downs. Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting story. Perhaps we'll save that perhaps maybe for a little later, a little later on. But
that was really fun.
Yeah, Coy, and he was a really great guy. So again, we'll be talking about that a little later on.
So let's talk about why did it wind down, man? Why did it kind of come
the initial? I mean, probably because
we were adults.
I mean that the fact that I think you mentioned this before. It kind of became more of a hangout than it did a like a thing for us to do. I mean, keep in mind though. We did when we started, we kind of were just doing episodes whenever we wanted. Then we came up with a set schedule.
Right.
We came up, if I remember right, it was Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Thursdays being sports night.
Yes, we had.
Wes.
Yes, we had 2 episodes a week at one point. Again, with myself being the co-host on Tuesday nights and your brother Wes being the co-host for sports night. And if I recall correctly, at a time we were a member of a group of web series guys. I wish I could remember the name of Some Guy TV. Was it Some Guy TV?
Some Guy TV.
And was that run by your buddy Frank? Or he was a member of it.
Frank kind of gave us.
And I guess we could call Frank Frank is a friend of the show as well.
Of course, yeah.
Frank, he kind of invited us into a group of other streamers at the time. And I think we were trying at that time to stick to a set schedule because we thought we might be able to do something or parlay it into something, which didn't happen, but that happens on occasion.
Right.
So we started doing the Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we stuck for that for a while. But again, it kind of winded down because of things.
I felt like personally, between just work and life and trying to actually do that every like twice a week.
It's not easy, and you know what?
It's tough, right? It seems like it's not that much, but like it's not like we were getting anything out of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Besides doing the show at the time,
and also keep in mind that I'm kind of along for the ride on the show. I mean, Doug really kind of was the genesis of the show. I mean, obviously I was a part of it, being that
he's a huge part of it,
but Doug is the guy that was doing and still is doing the technical stuff, and that stuff can be a hassle. I've seen that.
It really became, like he mentioned earlier, to me, less of a review and more of just dudes in a room hanging out. We started having guests. Which is fine. I'm not saying like I'm pissed because we had guests and we quit the show. It was like we started doing guests, and then we'd all be playing the game together. But instead of us reviewing the game and talking about it and kind of going along with things that are good and bad, it was just like 4 dudes being loud in the room and rowdy having a party playing the game.
Yeah.
Which isn't really what I wanted to do. It was still fun.
Of course.
Like one of them I know we did Alone in the Dark with Suge and stuff.
And our friend Myron was a part of that.
So that was fun,
and Wes was there too. It was 4 of us in the room together.
4 of us, and that this room now is huge compared to that room. It's half the size. And not that you can tell.
And by the way,
it's very small.
We did move at one point. The original episodes of the Get Down were recorded behind, but behind here next door in what is definitely a substantially smaller room.
Right. And another part of it was I got this feeling of, and you know what? I feel a little different about it now, but I got the feeling of man, I just am doing all of this work, right? Like I'm doing all of the technical stuff, all of the streaming stuff, picking the stuff, editing it, putting it all to YouTube, and everyone else just kind of shows up. And then at the end of the day, they go home where I'm not gonna say I'm doing all of the content because Leon had a big hand in that, and then
later on,
right,
later on, we'll discuss that, and that is true. That again, I mean,
it got really tough.
You're doing the majority of that technical stuff. So the first iteration, we'll call it, of the Get Down, winded down, I guess you could say. And about, what would we call it? Was it a year later, a year and a half later?
It was a while later, but we started doing some pre-recorded Get Down.
Correct. Well, the idea this time around, and Douglas was, I lost my train of thought there, but when we did the second round of the Get Down, again, that second iteration, you said, like, maybe live isn't the way to do it now.
Right.
It would be easier on me to be able to piece this together afterwards, or at least to make it look more like a little more polished.
Right, and it did. And in the beginning, I'll admit, it didn't even look more polished. But as we did a couple of them, it started to just be like classic thing where like, okay, you start out, we're gonna play this game, boom, we're playing the game and trying it, boom. How was that game? It was cool. Okay, peace. Which is what it's supposed to be. What I want every time, anyway.
And I guess we can talk about at this point when you were talking about the fact that you were doing most of the producing on the show. I recall when we wanted to do that second Get Down, what we call it, season or whatever you want to call it. When we brought it back the second time around, you actually had like a meeting between Wes and you and myself, where you pretty much said like, "Hey guys, I do I do all of the producing pretty much. It would be nice if you guys would pitch in every now and then." And which is when you gave me the idea, or Wes, both of you did.
It was actually Wes's idea.
It was Wes's concept for a segment on the show that would be prior to the main review.
Even before that though, that's when we started doing like We're HitPoints Gaming.
Yes, and if you want to explain what HitPoints Gaming is for the folks.
So HitPoints Gaming, actually, we started more so with like Chris and Corey and Ricky, and then we were like, "Yo guys, we need to be doing something." Me and Leon and Wes are doing this stuff, and we're having fun on YouTube, and YouTube is fun, but like you guys need to get involved. It'll be really great. So we were like, what are we gonna call it? And you know who came up with the name? Fran.
Really?
Fran came up with the name HitPoints
Fran,
Gaming.
Douglas's wife, holler to Fran.
Yeah, Fran came up with the name HitPoints Gaming because it's really hard to pick a name. It's hard to brand something. Right. And we had like these meetings and stuff and yada yada yada. So really, HitPoints Gaming was just us. Like, we're HitPoints Gaming. We're the dudes doing this, and we did start the channel. Make sure you go to HitPoints Gaming by the way. Right now, you won't see too much of me on HitPoints Gaming on YouTube. It's really Corey and Chris and them took over that, and they're doing a lot of board gaming stuff, and it's really great. We have a lot of really cool fans, which is awesome, man. We have a lot of dudes. We had like 80 viewers, right? 40 viewers on our live like board game session one time, which is really good. So that's what HitPoints Gaming is, and we started to put the older HitPoints Gaming logo in front of stuff. And that's, again, like, I did the graphics. I totally stole some stuff from people, but I did the graphics and, like, the music and stuff. And then got a new logo from my buddy, John Costantino. And trade for some music. And when I saw the new logo, I was like, that makes me want to do more stuff because it's so good. And I'm sure you've seen it in the beginning of this. And you'll probably see it again later.
Yes, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah, that whole purple background grid is all his work that you see like right now, So that
and John's a great guy too.
Yeah. But as far as what Wes came up with this great name.
Yes.
And this really good segment called Gong.
Yes.
And this Gong stands for it's GONG. It's good or not good. Mm-hmm. Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a clever idea for...
Yeah, it's good.
And that was the idea that was given to me. It was, hey, Wes has this idea for a segment, good or not good. Why don't you do something with it, Leon? And which is pretty much what you said to me. Like, here, do something with this. And it began with Wes doing a review of whatever game he would
More modern-y stuff. I was doing all retro at the time.
Yes. Yeah, Wes was reviewing Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and stuff like that. So, yeah, the idea was given to me, and it was given to me to make something of it.
Now, I want to let you guys know that at the time, Leon had no inner workings or like
it was my first time producing
he had never
anything.
Used any video editing software. He had no idea what he
I
was
mean, maybe
doing.
in college years ago, but years
so
removed.
He stepped it up, man, and he went to he had like Windows Movie Maker. Learned how to use it.
Yes.
And he came up with probably the greatest intro I've ever seen.
This here thing is called the gong.
Yeah, I had the Windows Movie Maker, and what I was given at the time from Wes was he had a title card that said Gong, which had like a picture of like an animation of a gong on it, N-G-O-N-G on it, and he gave me the song. And that's what I had. And the idea was for me to use that picture that he gave me and use that for the intro. And when I was making it, and when I was, sitting down at my computer and, trying to figure out what I was going to do, I kind of said, and this is going to kind of sound kind of arrogant when I say this, but I was like, this picture just isn't cutting it. Like, I need something more than this.
Right.
So what I decided to do was just go on YouTube and look up all videos that I could find with a gong in it, like an actual physical gong. And I said, I am going to take clips of people banging on a gong, and I am going to create a concoction out of this. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet, but that's what I did. I just pulled a lot of videos from YouTube, sliced them up, played them at different speeds, kind of put them together, put the gong title card over that, going to the music, and it was my first time doing anything like that. And I mean, the best thing I can say about it is that it was very well received by both Doug and Wes.
Dude, when I saw the intro to Gong, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It got to the, it was at a point to where are we just going to call the show Gong at this point? Like, it was so good. And we put Gong in front of the Get Down, pretty much. Like, Gong was like a minute, maybe.
It wasn't long.
It was like 5 minutes long.
The longest episode of Gong was 5-6 minutes tops.
So we would do that and then go into, the big episode of the Get Down where we played one of the games. And that was really good, man. That was really, really good.
It was, and I don't know if we're going to be able to show anything about, like, any actual physical clips, but I'm proud of it. I mean, I think it's something that could have been a segment on G4. Right. It could have been a segment on Attack of the Show.
Yeah.
Like, I was just looking to make this, and I just wanted it to be fun, silly and fun, and it worked. It worked really well, and we did like 3 or 4 of those, and, I like the work I did on those. Yeah. And I just thought, the best thing I can say for it is that I feel like I was able to take my personality and infuse it into Wes's interviews,
right?
Which added a little, like a little color and a little humor to the proceedings.
Yeah.
So I liked that. That was good.
So shortly after that, we actually got our first major technical upgrade to our filming area at the time, which was just, the background was just the room, drawers, dressers, anything that was there. And that was actually when we did our first green screen one.
Yes, I do remember that. And the green screen was pretty much hanging in the room over here, like clothes on a dryer, or clothes on a clothesline.
I just got like a thing that you would hang hangers on, and I got a green piece of fabric from the art store, and just threw it over top.
And again, keep in mind here that just like myself, Doug doesn't have any like school when it comes to production or anything like that. This is stuff that you were Googling, that you were on YouTube, and you were pretty much DIYing this.
Yeah, and
this whole thing.
You know what? It worked out great. Actually, whenever you see me recording VR stuff or streaming it, and I have, looks like I'm, you can't see the floor.
Which by the way, check those out. Those are fun.
When you can't see the floor, it's because I'm using that same piece of fabric on the floor now. That's what I use pretty much. But yeah, it was fun. We did Forbidden Forest, which
well, I know you like talking about Forbidden Forest because it has one of your favorite
oh my god,
your favorite calls in the history of the Get Down.
One of two my favorite things, but it was really fun. We'll go into our favorite spots.
Right.
But you know, it was really fun to try out the green screen and see how it worked, and then my dumb self wore green, right? Like I had that green army gear on, like an idiot. But it still did work great.
It did.
And then we did it also for Road Rash, actually. We used the green screen.
Yes.
Which I would actually... we get started again. I'm going to revisit that with a proper look.
Yes.
I don't think we did that justice.
That's fine, but we can, again, this show is always kind of, a DIY project anyway, so just move on to the next.
And then after a little bit of that, we went to one of my absolute favorite Hit Points Gaming, kind of YouTube.
Oh yeah, I know where this. I know where this is going.
Of all time, man, it was the One Tasty Burger Madden League.
Football in my life. I love football. You can be playing football on the football field with a football.
Well, let's explain that a little bit because we had been doing the Get Down for a while, and people knew that our friends knew that we were doing that.
Right,
so,
but nobody actually asked.
Right,
which is crazy.
Well, I think you were the one that.
Yeah.
We had some friends that were at the time had a Madden league.
Yeah.
I think wasn't Wes the commissioner of it pretty much.
Wes was one of the commissions. Yeah.
Of the One Tasty Burger Madden League, which is a great name, by the way.
Right, it has some value, but the joke wouldn't make sense to anyone.
No, but because and that spawned off of the Get Down pretty much.
Yeah, so they had this league that was going on for a while, and my brother was like, "Hey, we're everybody's like, man, I wish we could watch the Super Bowl." And he wasn't even saying it to me.
The One Tasty Burger Super Bowl, mind you.
Right. He wasn't even saying it to me like hint, hey. He was just like, yeah, I was talking to Jay-Z, and then I was asking him about the league, and he was like, yeah, everybody wished they could get together like one night for the Super Bowl of One Tasty Burger and watch it, like watch the guys play, whether they have like just like a big gathering, pizza, beers, whatever they want to do. And I'm just like, why don't I stream it, dude? And Wes is like, oh, that's the greatest idea of all time.
And obviously, it's easier for people to watch it streaming as opposed to because with adult schedules, it's hard to get everybody together one time. And
right, so we ended up streaming the first One Tasty Super Bowl where Wes and Hendry were doing commentary.
Mm-hmm. I remember it well.
It was just a fantastic day.
And I wasn't even a part of that one, but it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
I just remember John and Wes having those black clip-on ties and looking like they were the Men in Black, and like they were going to save the world from an alien invasion.
So then, because of that, we started streaming random games throughout the season, and then also we did another like 2 Super Bowls or one. Maybe two.
At least we did at least 2 or 3.
Okay.
All together.
So people would want to come over. At first, it was super exciting, right? People wanted to be on stream and stuff, but then it's like. Some people who were here couldn't handle the pressure of 2 guys in a room doing commentary and talking bad about you.
It gives you a different feeling.
Oh yeah. So, and I know that from playing in gaming tournaments. You got 2 guys in a room commentating when you do bad. They're yelling how bad you're doing and yelling how good the other guy's doing, and then that also flips in reverse, but.
Now that's not
you get nerves though.
Now that's not to say, and by the way, Doug and I were the ones that were handling the commentary on the majority
on all of them from then.
Right. I mean, there were episodes where it was just you, or there were times where it was again like John and Wes or whatever.
And we don't know anything about football, so it's mostly just jokes.
I know. Here's the thing. I know a little bit. I mean, I'm not.
We both know how football works.
Right. But we're not. It's definitely not a religious thing for me like it is for others, but
we just made jokes the whole time,
right? And that's the fun part anyway. I mean, and again, it's like you know, and then we never tried to, I mean, I want to make this point. We never tried to maliciously antagonize the person that was here. But, I mean, there does come a point where if you're doing bad,
it might get to you.
We just have to, but we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, we can't.
And we have to be like, hey, you're not doing so good right now.
I'm not going to like pat your shoulder. Oh, it'll be okay.
It's not, oh, what about that interception there, you know, or what about that fumble, you know? Sorry, guy.
But that was really fun.
I wish
I had got all these crazy like virtual sets and multiple screens in there and all this stuff going on. That was so much fun for me.
I would love to do that again. Yeah, so if
but
any
they're
of
not doing it anymore.
I know.
No, they're not doing it anymore. But we do the yearly FIFA.
Yes, that's something that we came about that we can mention. The fact that for the past 2 years now, even though I couldn't be a part of the first year, but we are streaming the live FIFA tournament that our friends Martin and John host.
Right, which may be gone because Martin now is in Florida.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's in Florida, so that might be ending.
That might not be a thing
unless it comes up, which would be cool.
I didn't even realize that happened. Yeah. So wow.
One tasty was towards the end of everything
of the second run, yeah. Which
and
up to this point,
we're like, all right, well, this is getting tough. Work's tough. I think I might have been starting to work different hours, and yeah, it's got tough to do, man.
It's not easy. And again, I don't even have the same kind of, you know, call it not restraints, but the same kind of, you know, because your work schedule has probably always been a bit more taxing than mine, and you know, like, and you have a family life as well, and that makes and it just, again, it's just the, you know, it's not that easy to get together to do stuff like this when you become, you know, a more adult, you know, not saying that you can't, but again, you know, things sometimes come to pass, and you know that
it is, dude.
Right, and we kind of wound it down, but now. And I'm wondering I guess this is something that's been brewing for you for a while. I know we've talked about it for a while. We kind of want to get back to it. And
yeah, I think I'm ready to get back to doing some get down stuff, man, and making some videos and having a good time, and maybe even doing some like skits I kind of have in mind, and just start kind of just coming back into YouTube, man.
Right. And the thing is, it's not as if, I mean, it won't be as we were doing it the first time around, trying to stick to a set schedule. No. I mean, we can really dictate what we want to do and when we want to do it as far as that goes. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I am, when you brought that idea to me, talking about doing more Get Down, I was absolutely prepared to do that because it's something that I've missed. I can tell you right now that, and I'm thankful for you for doing this, those original episodes of the Get Down were uploaded to
I put them on Google.
On Google, and I watch those constantly. You know, I mean, I watch them pretty often. Right. I mean, because they're so much fun, and they're just such a good reminiscence that you get to miss it. And again, that's why it's kind of exciting to be, you know, trying to do it again.
So, what would you say are some of your favorite moments of the Get Down from any period?
Well, I mean, I love, like I said, I love the Gong segment. I'm very proud that it was good and well received. I love the episode where we played pro wrestling and where we played wrestling games, I should say.
Wrestling games.
And when we were playing pro wrestling on NES, I defeated you in one particular match and went absolutely ape shit out of my mind.
Well, Leon doesn't win.
Very, very often.
Now we're gonna go for
we're gonna go for the win.
Going for that win.
Come
on. Man.
Get that brain buster.
No! Come on. No, come on! Yes!
Oh,
yes! Come on, get up! What the
fuck? Fuck that. Yeah,
get up!
Oh, shit, no!
Come on! Shit!
No!
Yes! Come on, go! Yes!
Oh, no!
Come on, that's it!
The splash! The splash!
Yeah!
Bullet!
All right.
This game's bullet, but not really. Very often, and definitely not during the show. He's had a bad run.
Thanks for mentioning that, by the way.
But he beat me in wrestling.
Yes.
And I was astounded. I was like, I can't believe I just lost in pro wrestling to Leon.
It was good. I remember I hit you with the roundhouse. I forget who I was. I think I might have been Starman.
Yeah.
But hit you with the roundhouse kick, went up to the top rope, gave you the big splash.
And that was it.
1, 2, 3, that was it. What else?
But you know what, though? There was, and this is actually, there's a little bit more story to this. There was a game that we had to let Leon be the guy to play.
Oh, fight night.
Nope. No. Punch Out.
Oh, yes.
Leon, it's funny. I could never get close to beating Mike Tyson.
And Punch Out,
I couldn't even beat Super Macho Man, right? And Leon comes over one day and he's like,
and by the way, this was years before the Get Down.
I could beat Tyson, and I'm like, man, get out of here. I've never even seen Leon play a video game be like at that point. And he beats him. He beats Punch Out. And I'm like, that's how you do it?
Come on, decision. Decision for Mac. Mac. Yay! Look at Mike's face.
I've won. I did it.
Look at Mike's face.
I have defeated Mike Tyson.
Now, you know there was a rumor that you couldn't beat him by decision.
You said that.
I told you that.
And it is known, and I didn't really know this until later on, it is known as one of the more difficult games in the NES library to defeat.
He's one of the toughest bosses there
and
is.
Mike Tyson is tough. He's still tough to this day. Like, I'm out of practice right now, and if I just picked up an NES controller and tried to beat him, I'm sure I would get laid out. But, I remember it too. If I can expound upon that, it was years before To Get Down. I was hanging out at your place one day. Doug always had his top loader NES in the front, and I saw you had Punch Out, and I was like, man, I love Punch Out. Hey, Doug, can I play Punch Out? He was like, yeah, sure. And Doug was leaving at the time. He was going to come back. He said, yeah, if you get to Mike, stop, because I've never seen him before. And again, he said to me later on that he didn't
without the code anyway.
Yeah, and you said that you did not expect that to come to pass, but I stopped because I got up to Mike and Doug came, and I was like, "Yep, here's Mike. Are you ready?" It was like,
I couldn't believe it. Also, he did it live at PAX.
I also did it live at PAX.
There was a crowd of people around him.
Yes.
And they were like, "Oh, you can't beat him by decision."
Which you can.
And Leon beat him by decision. I'm like, and I'm like, "Yes, you can." The guy's like, "No, you can't." And I'm like, "Dude, I've seen him do it before. You can beat him by decision."
Yep.
And there it was. He beat him.
Yeah.
So for me, one of my favorites, which we had already mentioned, was the one shot and he got him.
There it is. There's the dragon.
The dragon's music's great.
There's the dragon. Now, which dragon is worse? This dragon or the dragon from Ghosts and Goblins?
I gotta go for it.
Oh, man, he's gonna go for the kill shot. He's going for the kill. Yeah! One shot and he got him! Well, that would be the call that I made during the Forbidden Forest episode where Doug was taking on the dragon.
The dragon.
And to defeat the dragon in Forbidden Forest, you must shoot...
You can do it that way.
Right.
But, you have a chance basically where he comes down, he attacks, and then he comes from the side, and you have to try to hit him, at that point. You have to try to basically hit him, like, right in the face.
With your bow and arrow.
But if you do it right, the first time he comes, if you time your shot, he can't even do anything, and you just hit him and he dies. And I pulled it off, and I was just like, hold on, here we go. I was trying to concentrate so hard.
Yes, it was a very tense moment.
I had practiced it so much.
It was a very tense moment.
I wanted to be able to do this, and I pulled it off. I was so happy. And then
and of course, I made the famous exclamation.
One shot and he got him.
Yes.
That's one word, by the way. One shot and he got him is one word. So then my other one, still to this day, and I don't have the whole episode. I only have the clip of that. I don't have the full Ring King episode, which is the Watch Them Tornadoes moment.
We do have that moment, though.
Yeah. I want that in my fucking...
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
lifted.
Oh, my God. Some teeth.
It happens. He got up real quick, though. That didn't even barely phase him.
Fuck that, man. I'm hurting. I'm running, getting out of here. I want to box someone.
Oh,
yes!
shit.
Spun him out.
Wow. That
tornado.
Was not good at all. And I probably won't get up. Come on. Start aching. Come on.
He's hurting.
All right, good. We're getting up.
He shook it off. I got less hits. Oh!
Another.
Watch them tornadoes! Watch them tornadoes!
This is ridiculous.
Which me and my brother were playing Ring King on Sports Night, and if you catch a guy from the vertical plane, and you do like a forward punch, you'll get a hook, and if you do it from the horizontal plane, you get an uppercut instead. So you hold towards your opponent. I hit him with a hook, and I spun him. It makes the guy spin. And then I did it the next. I landed a punch and did it again.
You did it the very next. Boom. He pretty much came in
and got tornadoes.
He may have tried to land one punch, didn't and you blocked it, and then you hit him with the hit him with the tornado punch.
And I think that was it at that point.
Yeah, I think that was
really fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as the get down returning, I think it's gonna be really fun. I got plenty of stuff to play. I got a whole new console set up behind me right now.
Yes, sir.
To make things easier to record. And besides that, I think we'll probably do a couple skits I have in mind of just dumb stuff.
Which is what it always is when it comes to... Because when Doug and I get together, we bring out the cheesiest part of each other.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, that's the fun part.
Yes, of course it is.
I don't want to do a concise review where I'm talking about...
No.
Frame rates and anti.
No, who wants that when you can go one shot and he got him?
Yeah, when you can yell, watch them tornadoes.
Right. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. And I guess that's the essence of the get down.
Well, I think that's about it, man. We can close it out.
Yeah. It's been fun doing this, and obviously, And by the way, don't get it misconstrued, anyone, that Doug and I haven't seen each other in between the get down, being that we've been close friends for a bajillion years now, But
this is just the first time we got together.
On camera in a long time.
In a long time.
But that is something that we're both looking forward to, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you down the road sooner rather than later in some fun get down related material. So until then. Douglas and Leon signing off, and
thanks for watching.
Good night, live long and prosper.
Watch out.
Okay. Well, you know what? So do you think there would be two pieces on the fourth floor? Probably not, right? Do you think? All right.
Check it out.
All right.
Run away.
I don't...
Is down.
We're playing Left Hand Path on the Oculus Rift. It's actually a game on Steam, but it is compatible with the Rift. This game is supposed to be really scary, and you're a wizard. You can actually see me drawing my wizardy signs here in VR. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna...
All right.
Is there something walking?
Oh my God. That scared the shit out of me. Just making that... Oh my God.
I quit.